Hi everyone, I'm Jen. Welcome to my channel, Linguistics. Today I want to talk a bit about teaching your baby sign language. I am a mother. I have a 1-year-old daughter, and I have been teaching her sign language since she was 4 to 5 months old. Before that, I had bought a baby sign language book, and I had left it on a shelf in my bathroom for the first 4 months of her life at least. I read the intro before that, and it sounded great, so I decided to use it, and I never did. At about 4 to 5 months, when I wasn't so sleep deprived that I had any care at all, I opened it up and I learned my first signs. Now, I don't remember if I learned my first signs out of the book or off of YouTube. If you don't have a book, YouTube is great. Just make sure that you are writing in ASL, because there are a lot of different sign languages in the world, and you want the one that's going to be the most useful, and American Sign Language is the one that we use in North America. So if you haven't started yet and your child is a little bit older, don't worry, just start. So a lot of people think that they will be too late starting because their child is 2 years old, 3 years old, but it doesn't matter. A skill is a skill, and kids just soak things up. So if you haven't started yet and your kid is a little bit older than 4 months old, who cares? I would start anyways. So I'll give you a few tips. Just start. That's the first tip, because a lot of people will put it off and put it off and put it off, and then it never happens. Second tip is have patience, because they will not get it overnight. I did read a blog post once where the lady said one of the most useless things that she ever did was take a baby sign language class. She said that she had sat in front of her baby for an hour using a sign, and after that hour, she could still not see any indication of her baby understanding the sign that she was using. Ugh. Come on, like babies' brains are not nearly as developed as adults, and they are just starting to learn one language, nonetheless, sign language. They're just learning the world. So, they're going to take a little bit longer to make the connections, and their brain is going to take longer. They're going to need more input. So be patient. I didn't see any fruits of my labor until I think she was 6 months old or more. And at that time, I only thought maybe she was using the sign for milk. And then once I sat her on the potty, she was over 6 months. Yes, I started potty training my daughter a little bit earlier. And I asked her, "Are you finished?" And I would always do that. And she would, just stare at me. And then I would say, "Finished," and I would take her off the potty. And so one day I asked her, "Are you finished?" And she went like this. And it was so clear that I almost crapped my pants. I was like, oh my goodness, it's working. And from that day on, I just started adding signs. And yes, it was actually frustrating even after that, because sometimes she would just flat out stop using her signs. And she only had 2 of them at the time. And she would just stop. But apparently that happens. And it's recommended that you don't stop. You just continue, just like, words. And eventually she did start using the signs again. And so now she still has just a few signs, and she's starting to say words, but the signs that she has are particularly useful because she can't say those words. She can't pronounce them. Like, I ask her, "Do you want to get out of your car seat?" And she gets really excited, and this is yes, and she'll go yes, and she'll use this. And she's only just starting to try that sign. It's not very good yet, but she's getting there. Anyway, so it has reduced a lot of the frustration on my side and on her side of the lack of communication that we have. And so that's been really nice. Another tip is do it even if nobody else is. So at the beginning, like, my husband is very, very supportive, and so if I asked him to, he would sign. I think it was probably a little bit difficult for him to start using them because it just feels weird, because you've never done it before. It's the same thing if you're learning a foreign language and you want to say the words to some people and they don't understand. It's just you get really self-conscious about it. So I would say, even if no one else is doing it, still do it, because it is worth it, and other people will probably pick up and start doing it, because my husband has gotten really good at a few signs, just by proxy, because I'll always go finished, and so now he does it, and he would start doing it just because he was so used to seeing it. Another tip is do it even if you're feeling self-conscious. Like when I go out and I use it now, if somebody stares at me, I don't notice anymore, because it just feels so normal to me. But you may notice people looking at you in public. They might just think it's a cool thing that you're doing. They might be curious. They might be confused. They might be judging you. I don't know, but who cares? I mean, are you ever going to see them again? You're going to see your child every day, and you're giving your child a skill that so many children do not have. So, like, you shouldn't care. Just do it anyways. And my last tip would be learn and use the signs that are most useful to you in your home. So I found things like milk, for breastfeeding. That one was really, really, really useful if she was hungry. Finished is always useful, because even now I'll ask her, she'll be eating, and instead of having to throw her food off the table, even though she still does a little bit, but before she gets there, I'll ask her, she'll look a little bit disinterested in her food, and I'll say, finished? And she'll either say finished, or yes, or get excited. And so I just take her food away, and she's done. And I have no problems. And I have less of a mess on the floor to clean up. It's really, really nice. So it's also much, much easier if you start using signs that are super useful to you, because then they're not super arbitrary. So if I'm, for example, using the word arbitrary in sign language, which I don't know, what's the point? There's no point, because you don't need the word every day. So maybe like clean or potty. I do this for potty. I think this is toilet, but I use this, whatever. Or thank you, or good. Good is a really good one. She gets really, really excited when I say good. So yeah, I think that's probably all the tips that I have for today. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments, and I will hopefully be able to answer them. And that's it. So I'll see you next time on Linguistics, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.